we've got David Richardson joining us in the studio this evening, health coach, to talk to us about nutrition and eating plans, all things health and wellness. Welcome.
Thank you, Bianca. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in this evening. All right, so let's get straight into it. Tell us just a little bit about yourself before we start.
Yeah, sure. I'm a health coach, focusing on a couple of key areas. One to do with food nutrition, which is called Wildfit, and the second one relates to strength training, and that's called 10X. So I coach both of those disciplines, if you like, to clients of mine. And the Wildfit one, like I said, is food nutrition based. Worth saying that it's not a diet. It's worth getting that out in the open to begin with. The Wildfit's not a diet. It's more around the focus is on the psychology relating to food and our habits and behaviour and relationships with food, because it's those areas where people can often come unstuck. And the Wildfit program, for example, it runs for 3 months, typically, because that's a minimum amount of time really that people need to have a good go at trying to sort of address habits and relationships with food for lasting change, because that's ultimately what the objective is really for a lot of clients of mine. They've tried different things and they haven't worked, and lasting change is really important for people.
That's right, and you want to set that pattern, like you said. It's all about the pattern. It's that, like they talk about muscle memory. It's the same thing with anything we start. We have to sort of have a schedule and a pattern, and like you said, it takes 3 months to get into it. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a couple of days or a week.
No, it doesn't, no. Look, we can all make some short-term changes, and we've all got willpower, and we can usually turn that on quite quickly, but unfortunately it's limited reserves of it. And I've always been taught that in a battle between your willpower and your biology, your willpower will finish second every time, and it's no good relying on that wholeheartedly, because it's just not going to get you there. It's not going to last. You've really got to sort of focus on your why relating to food. Why do you want to make some changes, and make that commitment to yourself in a serious way, that you're going to commit to it because of whatever it is, A, B and C, that forms part of your why.
And I think with willpower, it can become a little bit draining emotionally and psychologically too. If we're forcing ourselves, we have to go to the gym and we should do this and we should do that. We might be doing all these good and healthy things for our body, mind, spirit, but if we're tense and stressed and going by a strict schedule, I think it can make us stressed psychologically.
Yeah, it can. It's not natural to be doing things under those conditions. To force yourself to do stuff, that's not really what life's about. It's about making changes, and they might be hard to make to begin with, but eventually they'll become natural. If they're important enough to you, as in the end goal is important enough to you, then it becomes a lot less stressful and it becomes more natural. And we definitely want to be not stressed.
That's right.
It's the biggest enemy to progress.
Of course, that's right. And it when it comes organically, I think once the patterns are set and it just sort of takes shape organically, all our choices, whether it be with food, exercise, mindfulness, doing our meditation, doing our different things that people do to be healthy, eating well, I think, it just does take that pressure off, like we were just saying. And we have to have that understanding. When we understand food and nutrition, then we will want to do it. Like you said, your why. When your why is you've got a good reason to, you want to be healthy, you don't want to be in hospital, you want to avoid aches and pains. Get to the real core of it, the grassroots of why we want to be healthy, and we understand what the benefits are. For example, even just having a smoothie with oats and psyllium husks for most people. I'm not saying everyone can eat these food items, but as a general, let's say, it stabilizes blood sugar levels, you don't get cravings. That's another thing too. Insulin levels in the body, sugar, we all have those issues. If we're eating incorrectly, our sugar levels go up and down. We eat a meal, and then 2-3 hours later we want to eat again because we're not eating correctly.
Yeah, that's right. And the sugar that causes that spike as well is it's a real danger. It's a real danger, and our body wants to use sugar to be as its primary source of fuel. It will lean towards sugar first rather than fat. Yet all of our bodies have that abundant supply of fat to be used as fuel. But if we keep pumping our bodies full of sugar, and even if it's natural sugar from fruit, for example, it can hinder progress, and that's a common misconception. People might be looking for some improvements with weight or whatever. I'm eating fruit, and and the body needs to have a break from sugar, all types of sugar, in order to flip into fat burning mode.
So some days just don't have fruit.
Yeah, that's a core principle of Wildfit, and I mentioned it's a 3-month program, and we go through this in layers and take baby steps all the way throughout. And one of the final baby steps is that all types of sugar is eliminated from the diet for a period of time. And that's the main area of the program where people see weight reduction, because the body has received the message that sugar is no longer available. I need to use these fat supplies in my body for energy and operate that way.
Yeah, makes sense.
And sometimes even just the smallest amount of sugar can just stop that switch flipping over.
Wow.
Yeah, remarkable.
And intermittent fasting, we were just talking about that earlier. That's an interesting concept too, isn't it? You know, because I think I remember seeing that intermittent fasting, you know, people that do like a 24-hour fast, you don't do it all the time. I think people do it sort of once every 3 months just to sort of reset their body, or some people do a 2-day fast, but under supervision. You know, you've got to have all your salts and everything so you don't pass out.
Yes.
But that switches the body from burning sugar to then going to our fat stores, and people see the fat drop off. But again, I think people that do that sort of 1 and 2 and 3 day fasts, they don't go to work, or they just have a day like on a Sunday when they're not going to be doing much, just chilling out, so the body can adjust. You know, you don't want to be going to the gym pumping weights or busy at work and not eat. Correct. I don't think that's smart, but it has to be done under supervision and
it does,
properly.
Yeah, you've got to set the conditions up for yourself when you do that. You're right, you don't want to be hitting the gym or doing a bunch of work in the garden when you're doing a 24-hour fast or longer. And intermittent fasting, I've tried. I do that from time to time, like a 16-8 mix, and that's good. I can establish that habit reasonably easily if I want to. I'm not doing that at the moment, because I think I mentioned to you earlier, I'm actually trying to put a bit of weight on through obviously gaining muscle, not gaining fat. So I'm looking to ensure that I do eat a bit more frequently, and my calorie intake is a bit higher than what it would be if I was, obviously looking to reduce weight. I'm trying to make sure I've got the right amount of protein in my system to support the strength training work that I do as well.
So speaking of protein, what's the deal with protein and carbs and fats and hydration from fruits? Like, what's the balance? I suppose it's different for everyone, because everyone's needs are different, their body's different, their level of activity is different. But what's your stance on protein, whether it be from animal product or legumes or a mix of both?
Yeah, I take mine from, I do eat animal products and pulses and legumes, and I get my protein from that. I also have a plant-based protein shake. I have one of those every morning.
Nice.
And the rule of thumb in terms of the amount of protein, because that's sometimes confusing too about how much to take, and it also depends on your level of physical activity levels. But it's a rough guide, sort of 1.6, 1.7 grams of protein for every kilo of weight is a good guide to consume. That's if you are at a good activity level, and if you're even more active, then you'd be wanting to take more protein on than that. And of course go the other way if you're not as active. It really depends on your activity level.
So what's that like in a handful? Like a handful of legumes, like 1 piece of chicken, 2 pieces of chicken, like for people who don't understand or don't know measurements or aren't familiar with it?
Yeah, of course. You say typically like a piece of meat the size of the palm of your hand is approximately 30 grams of protein as a rough guide. But you can get that information from the food packaging, and there's eventually you get used to it, and there are apps available to help you track that, like Fitness Pal and Chronometer, and it can be a bit cumbersome at times because you it takes a bit of time to sort of put the information in. But eventually, after a while, you've sort of built yourself up a bit of menu of things that you eat regularly, and you can, it's this and this today. This is my protein intake. You kind of keep across it that way. So it's just that initial burst of monitoring it can be a bit time consuming, but you soon get over it.
And what about, we were talking before about, people that sort of say, okay, let's have chicken on a Monday and tuna on a Tuesday, I don't know, whatever on a Wednesday, but we have to listen to our body as well and what our needs are on that day, how busy we've been, how stressed we've been. If we stress, maybe we want to eat less, maybe we want to eat more. A firm food plan works for some people and it doesn't for others. I have a reasonable amount of structure to my food intake because I never want to go hungry, and that's another you mentioned that earlier.
Key part of Wildfit is that you should never go hungry. Because if you go hungry, it causes stress. It can cause stress. If you go hungry, it can cause stress, and it can start, if you're not organised with your food intake, the options available to you suddenly become more appealing, should we say. If you haven't taken some food to work with you, for example, and you reach lunchtime and you are naturally hungry, okay, what shall I do? And if you haven't got anything with you, there might be a meeting coming up in 30 minutes, and it's like, oh no, I'm going to have to go out to the shop or the local servo or even the vending machine or even skip it. And those things are not optimum, because usually convenience and healthy food don't often come hand in hand, and you can end up making choices that are not good for you. So the other thing on stress, just to sort of add that into the mix, is when we're stressed, our body goes into what's called scarcity mode. And if you imagine seasons, spring, summer, autumn and winter, in hunter-gatherer times, if you like, during winter, food is at its most scarcest, and our bodies kind of gear up for that part of the year where food is scarce. But in scarcity mode, we're stressed, and our bodies don't want to let go of anything, because it feels like there's a shortage of food. That's the message that our bodies get when we're stressed. And it might not be stress because of a lack of food, it's stress from anything in life. Your body senses that, and it holds on to things because it thinks it's in winter mode, where I don't want to let anything go. It's in winter mode in days gone by. You don't want to let anything go because there's no food. So you've got to, you want to retain your fat supplies that you've built up, readying yourself for winter. But of course we don't do that nowadays, but the stress is a pretty bad thing for us in terms of that, how your body reacts to it. And it has a knock-on effect for your health goals.
Exactly. And look, speaking of just stress generally, there are so many things we can do, aren't there? Like meditation, yoga, Pilates. I know, I think Marika's doing Pilates at her physiotherapist.
Too,
I think she does it on Mondays, which is great. And that's so good for the body. It helps us relax.
Yeah, it is. I have a bit of a routine in the morning. I'm an early riser, and it's the best time for me to have a bit of peace and quiet. And I do integrate a bit of that. It's not a set routine of yoga, but it will sort of come under the banner of yoga. It's a bit of stretching and some deep breathing, and just getting the body moving. Some just basic movements, just to liven myself up, if you like, just to wake up. And I always feel really good for it afterwards. It's not strenuous. It's just that mindfulness moment of the day, and I like to do it first thing. And it sets me up pretty good. So highly recommend. Choosing something that works for you, and there's so many different options.
And there's something about stretching, like when you do a stretch, I don't know the chemistry or the biology behind it, or all the chemicals and the tendons, but when we stretch, it does feel like it's releasing something. Like we feel less stressed after we stretch, just like we feel less stressed after we take deep breaths, like they say, breathe, right? We need to learn how to breathe again. People in society, we're all busy and we're shallow breathing, we don't realise that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, breathing is a huge one. And again, harking back to Wildfit, but that again is a big fundamental part of Wildfit is to actually
Breathing.
practice breathing. And as bizarre as that sounds, practicing like a 5-5-5 technique where you breathe in for 5, hold it for 5, breathe out for 5, and just repeat that a few times. It's because it's to minimize stress, so that it ties in, it helps you relax. And it's the same with the stretching. You just feel relaxed, and I think it's our muscles, just to humanize them for a moment, it's our muscles talking to us and saying thanks for that.
And wake them up a bit too.
Yeah,
you
thanks
know?
for it. Thanks for that, because you've been sat on your backside all day, and these muscles around my hips and legs and stuff, they've not had much movement, and I appreciate the stretching.
Can you do like just a 1 minute breathing exercise for us and for our listener? Like breathe in or breathe out, the 5-second thing you said.
Yeah, I can do that. Sure,
for
yeah.
a minute or two.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, a good.
Or like a guided breath.
Yeah, I can do guided breathing. That's no
Right.
problem. A good is give everyone a chance to just find a spot wherever they are, whether it's at home or maybe they're still at work, or if you're driving, don't do it while you're driving, but pull over and pause for a minute. But what I'm going to ask you to do is, I've just mentioned it as the 5-5-5 technique, and the idea is to breathe in through your nose and just count to 5 in your head, and then when you've reached 5, hold it for 5, and then we'll breathe out for 5. So we'll just give that a go right now. All right, so hopefully everyone's sitting comfortably, and try and close your eyes if that helps, and come off your phone or put it out of reach, and just try and just steady yourself in wherever you sat, at the sofa or in a chair, and just breathe. And we'll start right now. So we're going to breathe in for 5. So breathe in, and hold, and breathe out for 5. And that routine there, it's good to do that another 4 or 5 times. So you do that cycle of 5-5-5 a few times, and in the morning and in the evening is a good time to do it before you go to bed. And you can do it at any point in the day if you like, but that helps set your day up right in the morning, and then in the evening just before you go to bed is a good way to go.
And also I've noticed, like, if I've ever had a massage or something, sometimes you think, well, these people doing massages all day, every day, that can become really tiring. And I've checked in and I've heard them you can hear them focusing on their breath, and it makes sense that if you're doing that hands-on work, you want to be breathing so you can stay present for your client, so you can be present for yourself, so you've got energy to keep going. Yeah. And I've noticed that. A lot of them they're working on their breath. I haven't said anything to them, but I will next time. Yeah. I want to say thank you, because I feel their calmness.
Yeah. There's books written about breathing, and they can be quite a heavy read actually. I've got one at home that I read, and I know I need to read it again. And it's just called, I think it's called Breath or Breathe, one of the two. I just forget the exact title of the book, and it's incredible what people can achieve with just getting their breathing under control.
And something we do.
Yeah. People can sustain.
And we're not doing it right.
Yeah, people can sustain like the most Baltic of conditions wearing just, some underwear or something.
Yeah.
And, sit in an ice bath or something for 30 minutes. Just
30?
Because,
is
whatever
that
it is they
doable?
do.
Yeah.
But because they've got their breathing under control, they just lock their mind into this breathing pattern and nail it.
Yeah. Have you seen, is it Wim Hof, the Iceman?
Yeah, Iceman. He does that. He's
does that.
well-trained breather.
He got into that through a trauma he went through. His ex-wife, I think, is he remarried now? I'm not sure. I think he might be. Okay. But his not ex-wife, sorry. His first wife passed away traumatically and suddenly, and he said he went through such shock and trauma in his mind, in his body, in his soul, that he said the only thing that helped him was getting into cold water, like icy water. Maybe, I don't know what it was. I think there's even a psychology behind that, because I've noticed a lot of people that I'm not judging people that do it or saying that they're all in trauma, but I've noticed a lot of people that have gone through really intense things are actually doing these ice baths, and I've seen a bit of a link there, a connection, and I thought, I wonder if, when we're really traumatized, to immerse ourselves ourselves in an extreme condition like the cold might help them psychologically with their emotions.
I think
I wonder if there's some research behind that.
I think because it's just such a hit to the body when you step into an ice bath, you want to be able to focus on just the one thing to help you get through it, and that one thing is the breathing. And if you do focus on your breathing, and that's a core part of meditation anyway, to incorporate breathing, and if you find it difficult to close off the distractions, maybe just focus on the counting of like we just did the 5-5-5 technique there. You focus on the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as you go through it, and it helps you block out the noise.
Block out the noise. That's what's happening.
And I think the ice bath, you have to take your breathing to another level, because the conditions are just that much more difficult than trying to do it sat at home fully clothed.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a block out technique.
It's a block out. Interesting.
Yeah,
so interesting. Now, I just want to cover this thing before we get back into the Wildfit and the, what did you call it, 10x strength?
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to mention the 6 types of hunger. I liked it when you mentioned that before we jumped on, because sometimes when we think we're hungry, we might not be hungry, we might be dehydrated.
Yeah, that's right. There are 6 types of hunger, and thirst is one of them, and the most common type of hunger that we didn't think was a hunger. And a dehydrated body will often give you the cue that you're hungry, and we reach for food instead of water. And that's because in olden days, I've mentioned that turn of phrase quite frequently here, but we used to get our thirst or water content from food because we were eating plants, and that sort of evolution of the human species it hasn't changed, and it's a really good tip if you find yourself snacking a lot, or you're not sure if you're hungry, but you're tempted to have something, you might be bored, have some water, have a drink of water, even just a few gulps or a glass, and then just let it sit for 10 to 20 minutes, and then check in with yourself, and you'll be surprised how frequently those pangs of hunger disappear, and it was because you were thirsty.
Yeah, you hear people saying if they're hungry at night, like 10 or 11 at night, and they think they're hungry, we hear people say just have a glass of water, and then go to bed. Yeah,
that's right. And on the six, another one that's really worth mentioning out of the 6, and that's emotional hunger, and that's the biggest one out of all of them that plays havoc with all of us, and it's quite sad actually. It can be quite sad, that some emotions have gotten the better of us, and we reach for food, and that with the intention of that kind of solving the emotional need of the moment, and it sometimes does, but it's usually quite a fleeting resolution to the problem, and
that's right.
What follows is more long lasting, and it's good to try and get a hold of those emotions around food and find something else that replaces it.
And people often find that they are eating faster too when they're emotionally eating when they're stressed. They eat fast, and they're not even enjoying the food, and they're finished, and it's like, where did the food go? And can't even remember eating it.
Yeah, that's right. And I can add a bit to that as well. That's a useful tip for hopefully our listeners. Is it's called the food timeline, and that really is what you just described right there. And it's a good technique to help people with their habits and behavioural changes, is to think, if you start thinking about something that you're going to eat, and let's pick on pizza for example, and it's a common one, finish work on a Friday, it's pizza night, and go to takeaways and all that kind of thing. You often start salivating about the pizza about an hour out, thinking I'm going to pick it up on the way home from work.
True. And
it gets out of control, and then you get a bit nearer to pick up, you might place the order, and it's getting worse. And
you can feel the water in your mouth, huh?
Yeah, that's right. You haven't even eaten it yet. You've just thought about it for an hour, you've placed an order for it, and you're on your way to pick it up. And all these things are emotions, and they wreak havoc, and they're just out of control really. And then you sort of get the pizza, and that first bite might be pretty good, and maybe the second one, but they're all really fleeting experiences of joy, And then what happens is you forget how many slices you've eaten, and then the real emotion kicks in, or the real feeling kicks in after, say, 30 minutes later, and you feel heavy and bloated. And that's the difference. That one's quite long lasting. That one can be quite long lasting. It could be a few hours. You might end up taking that feeling to bed with you if you've eaten late at night.
That guilty.
And
feeling
it's
guilty.
Uncomfortable.
All that.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Well, no, it's more that feeling before the pizza is quite fleeting, that you're thinking about it and how nice it's going to taste. And then even to the point where you have that first bite, it's still pretty good. But it's a bit later. It's a bit sort of 30 minutes later when you start digesting it. That's the real feeling, because that's the one that lasts longer. That's the point I made. That's the difference, and that's what the food timeline is. And to think if you're trying to make a behavioural change is to really dial in and forward think. Hold on a minute. If I have all 10 of these slices of pizza, in 30 minutes I'm going to feel pretty rotten, and I'm going to feel bloated.
Think ahead.
And that's going to last ages. So you just know it's going to last because we've all had pizza binges in our lives.
But sometimes when that Kitchener bun's there, it's like so tempting. You don't think how am I going to feel after? You just think I want it now.
Yeah.
Not often, thank God.
That's it. Yeah. And look, it's not about giving up these things forever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not about giving up forever, but frequency. The frequency that we have things is a good area to focus on. And changing frequency can often lead to some pretty remarkable results. Actually, just changing the frequency that we eat stuff.
And anyway, speaking of that Kitchener bun story, is it okay, do you think, to have a cheat day, or not the whole day, but just to say, well, I do like, what are those Spanish donuts called? We came across them recently.
Churros.
Yeah, churros.
Yeah,
we're not going to have them all the time, but there's nothing wrong with having it every few months as a treat.
Correct. And I still have those things.
Exactly.
I'm a human being, and whilst I have eliminated certain things from my diet, and I'm pleased with those things, and I'm happy with that. If I want to have a Kitchener bun or something similar, then and I know that, well, I've not had one for ages. It's fine. I'm gonna have one. I know that I've kind of got everything else under control. I don't feel guilty about having it, and there we go. I'll have that. But the frequency side of it is important to be honest with yourself about it. And if it's a Kitchener bun every evening or every other evening, then that's not really probably the way to go.
It wouldn't taste as good anyway. When you have too much of something.
Yeah.
Like let's say people say, if they have just a little bit of chocolate, they feel good. But if they have a lot of chocolate, then the chocolate doesn't taste as good on the 8th bit. Yeah. It doesn't taste as good as the first and second bit.
Correct.
And if we're having that sort of food every night, you'd probably lose the pizzazz for it.
Yeah.
That buzzing on your tongue. It's like, here's another Kitchener bun.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And you mentioned the cheat day turn of phrase before, which is a very common thing for us to sort of think about. And I like to sort of think of it from a slightly different angle and more about, well, what's gone into my body today, or this day or this week, because it's about what we put in our bodies, the good, as in the good stuff, and really making sure that you've had a good chunk of good stuff during the day, whether it's fruit and vegetables, you're well hydrated, healthy proteins, whether it's from animals or non-animal products. That's really important to have that solid base every day as well, and focus more on that than kind of making your life really, really difficult to not have something on a rare basis, or a sort of a mildly occasional basis. It's better to focus on what's going in from a good side. I'm from the good side of things.
Yeah, and that gut-brain connection. So when we've got good gut bacteria, we feel good mentally, but when we've got the bad gut bacteria, we don't feel good. I think the Greek philosopher said that many years ago. They said that mental health comes from the stomach. So people that are eating wrong, they're not feeling the best. But we all know when we eat right, we feel good.
Yeah,
just like little kids that have raspberry cordial, they go to parties, eat sugar, and the parents can't control the kids that evening. When they're eating well, they're behaving better. It's the same with us, with adults.
That's right. Yeah, you're dead right there.
Yep. So, Wildfit, anything else we want to cover there? and the 10X,
And
or
10X,
any
sure.
other little tips, and also then we'll finish off with how people can contact you.
Yeah, of course.
Or
Of
anything
course.
else you've got there?
I think I would say one final thing with Wildfit is the non-weight loss wins. I find that when people go about making some changes to their diet, usually weight loss is really top of the list, or the top two things. And it's really important to, and sometimes that can work against people because they're thinking about it all the time, or might be getting on the scales a bit too frequently, and if they're not seeing a number that they like, it can make them feel despondent, and it's stressful. And what I would say is that for me personally, I did Wildfit to learn something new, originally as a student, and then to undertake their coaching certification, and that was all it was, just to learn something new. But my biggest win was increased energy levels, better sleep, and higher concentration levels. So nothing to do with weight at all. I wasn't focused on weight at all, but I still lost 8 kilos during that 3-month period, and I was staggered by that because I wasn't looking to lose weight at all. My focus wasn't on it. And I found with clients that have gone through the Wildfit, those that have not really been too fussed about the weight side of it, I think at the back of their mind they've wanted to achieve that, but it's not been at the front of their mind. So they've focused on all the other wins, the non-weight loss wins, and that's always a good philosophy I like to try and teach people to sort of follow, because they're really important ones as well, and we shouldn't get so obsessed about the weight side of it. Just allow that to happen naturally. But you can get so much more out of your day when you've had a good night's sleep, you're feeling energized, and your concentration levels are razor sharp. And also self-confidence, self-esteem, just massive things for people.
Exactly.
That people can suffer from those things being low, and that's not nice. So, building up confidence and self-esteem, and that can come from food, and focus on that coming through, and all those other good things, and just let the weight loss, if that is your goal, just let that happen. Just let it happen.
And also, do you think that our sleep is affected from eating incorrectly or eating too late at night?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, especially if there's sugar come into the system as well. It's playing havoc with the insulin levels, and that can affect your sleep for sure. But blue light as well, just from screens. That's also a big one that can affect the sleep.
And we need to dim our homes too at a certain hour. Don't they say, 6 or 7 at night, put the lamps on and dim the lights, don't have it all bright till 10 at night.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you want your body to start accepting that it's night time and it's coming up to sleep time. Whereas, we all do it occasionally. Some people perhaps more occasionally than they should, but unfortunately, the light that your phone gives off, or the TV, makes you think that it's daytime, and makes it more difficult to get to sleep.
One last thing I'm curious about. Also, I've heard people saying to eat till you're 70% full, not till you are 100% full. Not stuff the stomach. Just if you're still a bit hungry, just wait a bit. Wait 20 minutes because the stomach needs. I think the muscles need space to contract, and we need the air in the stomach as well. Like when we pack our system, it's like we bloat up. We get bloated, but when we eat to 70 or 80% full, we don't feel as puffed up.
Yeah, no, that's a really good
stressed.
one too. Yeah, it can be difficult to pick that 70%.
Yeah, I know. It's just one more spud.
Yeah, but it is a good one if you can control that, or put smaller portions on your plate, and then go back and get a second one or a third one a bit slower. But picking that 70% mark is challenging.
Exactly. I've tried, and I think I'm about 98. I keep trying. That's a hard
110. I better stop.
Yeah, that's it. All right. How can we contact you?
My website, bevital.com.au, is where you can contact me, and you can find information there about both Wildfit and 10X. I know we haven't touched on 10X so much, but I can cover off that in a second. I'll cover that off now. That's fine. So 10X is a strength training service that I offer, and the big sort of takeout from 10X is that it's 2 15-minute workouts per week, and that was the big hook for me. 2 15-minute workouts per week in order to increase your muscle mass, and I found I just breathe 10x weekly. I don't veer off that as a technique, and I find it so useful for me because I hadn't been to the gym for a while. It was really intermittent, nothing to write home about at all. Yeah, I wanted to go, but I had it in my head that a gym routine is going to be an hour, and you've got to go 3 times a week to sort of like make the progress. And I don't have time to do that. And most people, like me, and possibly you too, we're just so busy. We got family and kids to look after and work. I just can't find that amount of time, and that was the preconception about what it needs to take to sort of get improvements in, you know, your toning or your muscle mass. So when I found 10x and was totally hooked by that, really, is that all it is? And I went through it as a student first of all, and then through their coaching program, so I can teach it to others. And it is just that, and I can prove that that's worked for me because there's sort of 2 key monitoring parts with 10x. That we monitor the workout in terms of the load that you're lifting during the workout, so you can prove to yourself that you've increased your load on this workout, on this exercise and this one and so on. It's a very simple monitoring process. And the other one is I have a body scan. Nowadays about every 6 months, but to begin with it was sort of every 3 months. Okay. And that's just to check in on my body composition. So I want to know if my body fat, how it's changing, and how my muscle mass is changing. And when you've got those facts with you, you know that you're doing the right thing. And over a 12-month period, I dropped a couple of kilos of fat and turned it into muscle. So I gained a couple of kilos of muscle, and that was shown improving on the body scans. So I was really happy with that as an investment of time, that I committed to that over a 12-month period, and I've continued with that. I'm due to go for another scan again in a few weeks.
What is it, a machine? Or
yeah, it's just there's different types of scanning machines, by the way. Like you can go to Benson's Radiology and have one there. Like it's called a DEXA scan, and that costs a bit more. But you can go to one. Your local gym might have one, and you stand on a machine, and it weighs you, and you have put 2 grips, one in each hand, and you stand still whilst the machine scans you, and then it spews out a report at the other end.
What's it scanning you with? Like laser? What's it called? X-ray?
Yeah, I forget quite sure what it's scanning you with, the correct scientific turn of phrase, but you get a report at the end of it, excuse me, and it gives you like the breakdown of your muscle mass and your body fat by body part, so you know if you're onto the right track or not, and just that time saving side of it. Sorry?
I don't know if I want to know that, know the fat composition and this and that. There's different characters. I just feel like, for myself personally, it would make me go a bit, not paranoid, but some different characters. Some people want to know and others don't. I don't think I'd want to know. Yeah. Because then I might work on sort of reducing it. Yeah. And I just want to, I go more on feeling how I feel. If I feel good and I feel comfortable, I might have a bit of extra fat, but because also what are the terms, like they say, I think my husband went to the doctor even the other day and he weighed him and he said, you're in this range and that range and this is the range and this is, and I think, well, who says that someone should be that? Yeah. Because someone at that weight might look really, really too skinny. What do they call it? Body mass index, or the charts of what the medical recommends we should be in for our age, like what I should be in for my age. I've been that and I looked sick. I was too thin. So I feel like for me to feel good and energetic, I might need an extra little buffer that I'm comfortable with, right? It's not overweight, but it's just a little bit extra, and that's okay.
And I've always been taught that BMI often stands for bloody bloody misleading information. It's not really the best measure.
BMI, is that what it is that I was trying to explain?
It's body mass index.
That's right.
But the sarcastic version of it is bloody misleading information. And people get hung up on that and really should focus on, your muscle mass and body fat percentages and that as a total mass. And it doesn't always decrease. The body fat might not decrease every single time you go for a scan. Like I've had it where it's gone up from the previous scan, but I'm like, okay, alright, it's just my body. Yeah. But then sometimes it makes me a bit more determined. Like when I go back again, I want to make sure it's gone the other way.
Yeah.
But that's life. It's
Yeah.
just how it is. But overall, over that period of a year, it's the body fat went down by 2 kilos and the muscle mass went up by 2, and I was just really happy with that.
Yeah.
And the time frame to do it is just totally doable.
Yeah.
At that stage of life, if you like, where it's just got to be doable. You just want things to be
Exactly.
easy and not difficult.
Exactly. And I think we also go through phases and stages in life where there would be a time where people want to count calories and go to the gym and look at the body mass index and go on that machine and look at how much fat and how much muscle. But I think I'm talking more as we get into our 50s. I'm talking for myself. I think some people, not all people, but I just feel like a more relaxed mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And being relaxed, the body and mind tells you what you need anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when I used to try really hard in my 20s and 30s, it was stressful. Like we were saying earlier, if you stress too much, that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go to the gym for an hour, I have to lift this many weights, this
Yeah.
and that. But when you just do it, you've got to do these things, you've got to be healthy, you've got to lift a few weights, go for a few walks, eat well, do your meditation, chill out. I just think like the psychology and being relaxed, it all figures itself out anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Any last words to our listener?
I reckon that's everything from we've covered a lot of ground there, and look, if anyone's listening that wants to get in touch with me, they can do that through my website, which is bevital.com.au. There's information there on Wildfit and 10x, and I offer free 30-minute consultations for prospective clients that they can book from my website through there's links there to book it through Calendly. Pick a spot that works for them. I'm happy to have that consultation with people free of charge, whether it be for Wildfit or 10x. Happy to take people through that initial consultation first to see if it's a good fit for them, and that we're a good fit for each other as well.
Yeah.
That's how I roll. But both services as well, it's worth noting that they're both guaranteed for 60 days. So I put a money back guarantee on both of them for people, because that's how strongly I believe in them, and people should have faith.
Awesome. I like that.
Should have faith in the things that they invest in.
And you've got confidence in what you're doing, so you know that it's all.
If I can help somebody, and the list of things that they want to achieve is what I can help them with, then the moons have aligned, and we can go from there.
Yeah, good on you. You're doing good work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. Thank you.